I will walk you through very, very simple basic systems that you can put in place that helps you manage your teams effectively. They are very, very, very simple. I want you to think about some of the things you have not put in place on your teams yet that can really work. The first one I will say to you is having a priorities board or having a document where in that document, all your team's priorities are. It's not your day-to-day task. I call it rolling list. So for my teams, I have something I call rolling list. The rolling list is not individual. It's not every single person's tasks. It is just what are the big ticket items that needs to get done. So for instance, in the planning phase of my project, I would say I need to do a particular memo, or I need to create a particular slide, or I need to, whatever that is a big ticket item. It needs 2 to 3 days of combined teams effort. It is priority. So we'll put it on the priorities board. Okay. So we have what we call a rolling list. So that rolling list, once something is completely done, you get it out of the way, you keep moving and you keep rolling it. I used to work on a team where we had the rolling list as well, but we also used to rate the rolling list. So we had and I've talked to you about that before, the red, amber, green. So we used to rate it as well in terms of priorities. So everybody, every single day we come to work, if we wanted to have a Teams meeting other than the dashboard, which is the application that shows the progress of the work, we have this rolling list because there are some things that are not necessarily on the dashboard because the dashboard captures particular aspect of the work, but there are some off dashboard related tasks that the rolling list can capture. So we use the rolling list as something that covers everything we need to do, but it has to be big ticket items. So you can have something like that. So you call it a rolling list or you call it a priorities board. Make sure everybody on the team has access to it. And it shows every single person what the team considers as priority every day, every week, whatever the case may be. Okay. And then you can also take your priorities board and shift things around, or your rolling list and shift things around and make something that was probably priority. We thought it was going to be priority today. Things have changed. It's no longer priority. Move it down, move it further down on your spreadsheet. You can use a normal spreadsheet for it. Move it further down on your spreadsheet and put what has become priority on top. Okay. Another thing you need to do is the priorities is a simple system. It's just a simple system that works. The system is a spreadsheet. Everybody has access to it. When we want to have Teams meeting, we go there, we look at priorities meeting board or rolling list. Everybody knows what they need to get onto. So that is simple, easy system you can set and put in place on your teams. The next one is daily quick check-ins. It has to be quick, 30 minutes or less. You can have 15 minutes stand-up. I like stand-up conversations where we just go into a room, we're all standing because it's 15 minutes, and then we're like, well, we can use it to look at the priorities board. What is priority today? What are we going? So the way I approach it is, and the way I approach every single one of my conversation is, what am I trying to get out of this conversation? Even when my leaders are there, I say, what I want to get out of this conversation is clarity about issue A or issue B. I just want to know how we proceed. So that is really important. So you can put in quick daily check-ins. Make it daily, please. If you really want to get the best out of your teams, make your check-ins there, even if it's 5 minutes, even if it's 10 minutes. That update they give you brings you quickly up to speed in terms of how you go. It also sets them on the right track. It sets your team on the right track. So try and get a quick meeting in with your teams. It just helps for the team to stay aligned without any heavy supervision. So just get those in. I do 30 minutes every day, but spend less. In fact, there are some days that I can't physically be there, but because myself and my team, we do multiple check-ins in a day, like the touch point is almost 50 at every point in time during the day, because we're in the detail of everything. Given is very busy, I may not go into the formal meeting because I may have a clash or whatever, but if you don't have all those consistent touch point throughout the course of the day, use the daily check-ins with your team. Okay. What I also found out in the check-ins is you can easily spot problems. You confirm progress from your team. You also spot problems quite quickly because you checked with them yesterday. Between yesterday, maybe you give them an action point or two, you can check what the progress of the action point is. When you're also giving updates to your bosses, it eliminates the risk of uncertainty. Let me draw back slightly. Confidence is knowing with certainty what's going to happen next. And the spectrum of confidence you sit in today's on anything is heavily dependent on how sure you are about stuff. Which then means that if you're going into a meeting with your bosses, but you're not sure about the information you've been provided by your team, or you're not sure that it's the most updated information, your confidence level is going to be down. And that is why you need to be thinking about confidence from a data point perspective. And that is why you need your team to be feeding you with information from time to time. I digress. Okay. You also need to make your work really well. Another system you can put in place is can have a standard template for the work that you do, depending on how you're working and all of that. So for your reports, you can create a standard. If there is a report to churn out every month, and there is a fully reviewed report from like the last month everybody is happy with, you can turn that into a template. So you tell your team to always use that template as a starting point for whatever it is they want to do. I still did that for one of my team members today. So you can so there is already a fully prepared report. We wanted to adapt it for another case. So I just said, make this your starting point. So it's easy. So those are kind of systems you can set in place to ensure quality and that you're not missing anything. Okay. Another thing you could do is, especially if you have team members who work on like Word documents, slides and all, always tell your teams if they're going to change anything from the last version that you had or you had looked at, to always put it in track changes. With that, you can easily see what they've changed, see if you agree with it, accept it if you care for what they've changed, or disregard it or ignore it. That saves you a lot of time. Instead of thinking, I don't know what they've changed, I don't know what may have gone now. So just tell them to use track changes. Track changes is a very tiny system that works really well. Another system that really, really, really works that you should put in place, and this is more like structure, is clear roles and responsibilities for everybody on the team. I think I still did a short video on this, but I don't know if I've published it yet or not. Create system and structures on your team. Now, this is going to be so beneficial to you. What I've noticed my big bosses do is they always have someone they trust in the process. They always have someone they trust in the process. Now, you will have a partner who trusts really well a director. Then you would probably have a director who trusts really well a senior manager. You'll probably have a senior manager who trusts really well a manager. Everybody has someone they trust. They trust their level of quality. They always bring them and put them in the middle of stuff they know that they need them to look at, because they know that if they look at it, they will catch it. So you to create that structure in your team as well. So let everybody know who they're reporting to, so that other people can also take leadership opportunities and grow using those leadership opportunities. What that does is it saves you time. Not everybody on your team is coming to you. It makes delegation really smarter and it helps you with planning, training, whatever. Even if you manage 2 people, there has to be one person who is more senior. Tell the less senior person to report to the more senior person. I promise you, it just works. So that person reviews. So you're teaching the more senior person to become a leader, to take accountability for stuff, and then you're creating expectations around leadership for them. The other person who is more junior also knows that they have a reporting line to follow, so they don't just come with stuff directly to you, wasting your time, especially if there are things that the other person can help them with. So that way, you save up some time for yourself to focus on more important things. I'm telling you, this will save you a lot of time. This will make you more relaxed. This will make your job more enjoyable. Just create the reporting roles on it. Even if it's 2 people you manage, create a reporting role. If it's 3 people, create a reporting role. At a minimum, always have somebody that you consider like maybe like a COO kind of situation, or a manager for you on your teams that just helps you manage all the operational day-to-day stuff while they give you updates or you confirm updates with them and all of that. Just make sure that there's somebody like that who is doing that stuff for you. It really, really works. Now, if it's only one person you're managing, completely agree that the person has to come to you. But if you're managing more than one person, create that system and structure. Another system that works, or structure that works, is mapping people with their strongest suit of skills. Map people really well to where they fit. And let me tell you, This has really helped me in my career. In my line of work, you sometimes get to determine the people who come on your teams, and sometimes it just gets randomly allocated to you. People just get randomly allocated to you. What I have done in my career that has really helped me in such a demanding environment is to stay ahead of the curve. I stay ahead of the curve. What I do is, if there is someone I've invested heavily in, there are people, I have minions that I've invested heavily in. Before it's time, let's say my job is going to start in 6 months, let's say in June or in July. By last year, October, September, I had already had conversation with the resourcing teams and all of that to get them engaged on my job, to help them booked and allocated to my job, because I've invested in them and they are going to come through back on my project as continuity. And I know it's one of the major role I need to play as a manager if I want the best of the best of the best of my team, which means I need to look around and say, who best fits this work that I'm doing? There's some people that their strong suit is in relationships, creating client relationships, creating customer relationships, creating relationships within the team. I want a bit of that. If I've seen someone whose strong suit is that, I want them on my team. I want someone who is maybe very analytical, very technologically inclined. They're very good with analytics and all of that. I know I need someone like that on my team. So 6 months before, 8 months before my job is due to start, I've already gotten them allocated to my job. I do all of that. I'm like, who is best placed to do this piece of work? A lot of people will not do it. A lot of managers will not do it. And then when it comes to crunch time, they begin to struggle because they're allocating people to wrong things. For a lot of people, it's just allocate this person, just allocate this person, just allocate that person. Meanwhile, what you need to be thinking is, who best fits this role and will thrive in this role? And the way I do it, even when I have my full team members, I don't allocate people based on their level or grade. I'll allocate people based on their skills, the kind of problems they are very good at solving. So, for instance, I could have an associate who is very good with analytics, but there is a piece of work that is analytics heavily dependent, but by structure, a more senior person should be doing that role. What I will do is I will allocate that role to an associate for primary responsibility and give the ultimate responsibility to a more senior person to coach and review the work that they've done. Because obviously the more senior person, although not so fantastic at analytics, can then bring their knowledge into play in, guiding the associate. So the associate will do all of the analysis and all of that, but the senior person will stand back and think, okay, how can we bring these insights to work? So a lot of managers will not think like that. You please think like that. Map people to their strongest suit of skills. Now, another thing you should think about creating on your teams is having a bulk of time where you guys only discuss very judgmental issues, tricky issues, complex issues. You could just have that. So you could have like a brainstorming session once a week or twice a week. What I do for myself and my teams is, if we are hitting a wall on a particular issue, we immediately book a time with more senior people to have conversations with them and hear their thoughts. Because their thoughts always, because they're obviously very brilliant, they're going to say, have you thought about this? Have you thought about that? So immediately, the first thing we're thinking about, if we've tried everything, we've checked it with people, we've done everything we need to do and all of that, but this is sounding tricky immediately. So for instance, yesterday, I still had an issue like that where we were trying to wonder, how do we go? So yesterday, we put in a call with one of my partners. Today, we had the call sorted. Go have this conversation. Let's see if we can put in this clause. Let's see if we can determine the impact this way. Let's see if we can test this way, and let's get it documented, all sorted in a 24-hour period. We got all of that. So you should also stand back and say, is this beyond my experience, and do I need someone to lean in to support me here? So you can have that as a system as well. Another thing you can do is, with your bosses, always have a standing meeting with your bosses, standing with meetings about the work you and your team are doing. Have it as standing. When you have it as standing, you look forward to it. Let's say it is every week, 1 hour on a Tuesday afternoon or a Monday afternoon, for instance. You and your team will put together an agenda, a rolling agenda with the high-ticket things they care about so much. And then you come and talk about it to them every single week. Okay, so you do that every single week. You come and talk to them about it. What that does is it also helps you put things into perspective, know what priorities are. You know you're going to be having a conversation on Monday afternoon. So what does that mean? Check in with your team, make sure they have the agenda written up to be discussed on Monday, written up and given to you on a Friday morning, for instance, so you can do your reviews and you all can be ready for the conversation on Monday. And in that conversation, make sure you're going with, the progress of how the work has progressed, any updates from their last action points, all those kind of nice and fancy stuff. The last thing I'm going to say is, as you already know, please book your focus time. It's a fantastic system. Have it there, recurring on your calendar. It just works. So you're not dragged into chaos every single hour of the day. I hope this blesses you. Remain fantastic.